Accessing art.
Attention viewers, BigJackFilms is unavailable at the moment due to missing in action. But he has left a recording before his absence for you to enjoy.
The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. An American Tail is owned by Universal Pictures, AMBLIN Entertainment, Steven Spielberg, and Don Bluth. Please support the official release and streaming services. What's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to another review. Let's talk about legendary animator Don Bluth. One of the last of the new animators to work for Walt Disney, starting his big game career on Sleeping Beauty, Don Bluth has gone down in history as one of the greatest animated talents in the industry. While working for Disney from the 60s till The Fox and the Hound in 1981, he later made his mark with his own animated divisions with new innovations in animated films that went beyond the limitations that Disney did for kids' movies. With his first outbreak success in the iconic Dragon's Lair arcade game, which used Laserdisc technology to enhance and engineer the game. I managed to play this for the review at a local arcade, and I'm not gonna lie, while fun, it drains your tokens as the rumors state. By the 80s, Don began to take bigger chances in feature-length motion pictures, beginning with the iconic Secret of NIMH in 1982, which gave Bluth and his friends critical praise for risks and storytelling that Disney could never touch. This eventually got the attention of one Steven Spielberg and his studio at AMBLIN Entertainment, along with Universal Pictures, to have Bluth Studios sign up with a few animated features to compete with Disney at the box office. But Jack, you might be asking, where is this all leading to with Disney, Bluth, Universal, and Spielberg? Well, thanks to our very first Patreon sponsor for this episode, I figured it would give me a chance to talk about Don Bluth and start off with one of his first groundbreaking achievements. That, of course, being the collaboration with Universal and Steven Spielberg with 1986's An American Tail. Set in Russia in 1885, the Maghsoudis, an immigrant family of mice, are having a celebration of Hanukkah where Papa gives his hat to his 7-year-old son Fievel, voiced by Philip Glasser, and tells him about the United States, a country where he believes there are no cats and the streets are filled with cheese. But the celebration is interrupted when a battery of Cossacks ride through the village square and pillage everything in their path. So the family flees the village in search of a better life aboard the next tramp steamer heading to America.
Titanic go to America in 5 minutes.
No, we totally don't want to go on that boat and see what the mice do there.
If you're feeling blue stuff, there's something that you can do stuff. Dust off your dancing shoe stuff, and the fiesta with mucho gusto.
I know this movie's terrible, but this song I can kind of dig.
You're looking for something new stuff.
During a thunderstorm on their journey, Fievel suddenly finds himself separated from his family and washed overboard. Thinking that he's dead, they proceed to the city as planned, as Fievel survived the ordeal, and thus the journey begins to find his way into his new home and to be reunited with his family. But the journey is far from something you'd see from Disney, with perilous dangers, darkness, but your fair share of friendly characters to help Fievel out, including the Garfield bumbling tiger, voiced by the late late Dom DeLuise. But can Fievel truly find his way home, or will he find more inclusion on his own with his newfound friends? So, most might be unaware that while I grew up with Fievel during my childhood, I actually never watched the original American Tail until much later in my life. I mostly grew up with the sequel, 50 Goes West, which, to be honest, I wouldn't mind covering sometime down the road for shits and giggles. But this one, looking back on it, is honestly a really deep but sweet emotional film that really hits the feels for its audience, with a heartfelt story, outstanding animation for 1986, heavy-hitting music, and some really engaging characters. Starting off with Fievel, he's such an adorable, innocent little spirit that you can really get attached to quite quickly. From his relationship with his family to his surviving learning instincts on his own, which unfortunately is really hard to watch in some cases. Because out in the unknown dangerous worlds, you can feel his pain and fear, and it's honestly really sad what happens to this poor little guy. That's one of the things Don Bluth is good at, is to get you quickly attached to the characters and share their emotions with them, which props have to be given to voice actor Philip Glasser, who was only 8 years old at the time, and props to Bluth for doing the traditional way of allowing kids to voice the characters as Walt Disney did in his time. The name Fievel was the same name of Steven Spielberg's grandfather, whose stories as an immigrant influenced the movie. Now, most newcomers might think that Fievel sounds a little bit annoying, but to be honest, over time, when you get used to him, he actually is a likable character. He really does come off as a legit little kid. Actor John Finnegan was the voice of the villainous Warren T. Rat, a small cat who disguises himself as a rat, leader of the Matt Stone Maulers, an all-cat gang which terrorized the mice of New York City. The character is obviously a schemer type, and you hope this schmuck gets all the comeuppance in his way by the end. Although Warren T. Rat sounds like if Joe Pesci was playing Honest John in Pinocchio. Although, to be fair, in the live-action remake coming out, that would actually be kinda cool.
I gotta listen to people because of your fucking shit? You're ordering me out? You better get your own fucking army, pal.
Outside of this film, John was mostly known playing characters on the Peter Falk series Columbo. Plus, maybe it's me, but the cat villains in this movie kinda remind me of Alex and his droogs in A Clockwork Orange. Amy Green voices Tanya Moskowitz, with her singing voice being provided by Betsy Cathcart. As Fievel's 8-year-old sister, she's optimistic and cheerful, less daring but more obedient than her brother. She also believes that he survived being washed overboard, which leads to... Yeah, we'll get back to that. Though in the sequel, she's voiced by Kathy Cavadini, who you might recognize as the voice of Blossom on the Powerpuff Girls series. The good one. I said the good one! Dom DeLuise is the voice of Tiger, the most physically imposing member of the Mott Street Maulers, and later befriends Fievel on his journey to find his family. Dom was a very talented comedian and worked with Bluth in his later films, and prior on The Secret of Nim, being for me one of the highlights of all of Dom's work. Just friendly, well-spoken, and hilarious as hell. I'll talk about him a little more when we get to the songs of this movie. And while other characters range from memorable to just kinda lame, not gonna lie,
Pick the mouse?
like Tony, who's just another kid character, it comes off more like Dodger and Oliver. That film alone kind of follows the same themes and formula, but in this film it just feels like a carbon copy of. I swear to God, you want to hear Tony start singing this.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family.
Though, given another Disney film that came out around the exact same time, he more or less would sound like Billy Joel.
Why should I worry? Why should I care? Yeah.
The only other major character is the great Christopher Plummer as Henry Le Pigeon, a pigeon of French descent who oversees construction of the Statue of Liberty throughout the film. And unfortunately, there's no Spider-Man this time to protect it.
Can the Spider-Man come out to play?
Plummer had quite the distinguished career in Hollywood and unfortunately passed away last year, but here he presents a warm performance as one of Fievel's many friends. Though, why do I get the feeling that Don Bluth would later recycle this character in Thumbelina?
If you give up, you will never find your family.
Then follow your heart. It will lead you home.
The themes of family, hope, and finding your place is all over this film, and that credit has to go to the amazing animation from Bluth's studio work, and the amazing animators and credits involved. The sheer glow of the film is all over the damn place, and it looks absolutely beautiful on screen. Production began on the film in December 1984 as a collaboration between Spielberg, Bluth, and Universal, based on the concepts by David Kirschker. Originally, the idea was conceived as a television special for NBC, but Spielberg felt had potential as a feature film and pushed Universal to give Don a chance. Spielberg had asked Bluth to, I quote, "make me something pretty like you did in Nim. Make it beautiful," making it not only feel just like a Don Bluth film, but a Spielberg film too. Nevertheless, for Spielberg, this was his first dive into animated features. It was Universal Pictures' first animated feature since Pinocchio in Outer Space in 1965, and yeah, that's an actual movie. As if Pinocchio, a true story, wasn't bad enough.
Father, when can I leave to be on my own?
Oh god, I'm getting Pinocchio 3000 flashbacks! Originally, the concept consisted of an all-animal world, much like Disney's Robin Hood in 1973, but Bluth suggested an animal world existing in a hidden society from the human world, very much like his own Secret of Nim and even Disney's The Rescuers. After viewing The Rescuers, Spielberg agreed that it was the right call, and the script was rewritten to feed that concept. Although, side fact, the production design and art department had a huge helping hand from the company Sears of all things. Whether or not it was a marketing deal with Universal, it was nice to have them help out however they could.
Here, Poppy, here I am. The softer side of fears.
Not to mention the amount of merchandise made for the movie's success, and franchising afterwards. Hell, the later sequel promoted a still-standing Playland area at Universal Studios Florida, titled Fievel's Playland, with soft structures, photo ops, and even a decently dried water slide. Though, unfortunately, given the IP being somewhat forgotten in recent years, there are rumors about its closure having been on the playing table, and considering next to the last standing E.T. adventure, that were the park's original attractions for over 30 years, it's impressive how well it stayed intact, and the entertainment it brings to kids and adults after all these years. Myself included. Though during his time with Universal, Don did have some limitations and restrictions under Spielberg's command. Steven actually had him remove a lot of scenes from both this film and The Land Before Time in order to make it more appealing to kids, because some of Don's imagery early on was a tad frightening. I'll probably bring this up later on when I get to covering The Land Before Time at some point, but needless to say, this is probably why Don Bluth didn't last too long with Spielberg and Universal. Hence why after The Land Before Time, he left Universal to go work on All Dogs Go to Heaven with MGM. The music was brought to us by the legendary late James Horner, who brought half the heart of the soul in film to life. As a fan of the legend's work, the score, while not one I've listened to much, is still a decent set of work. It's more somber and laid back than his later pieces with Don Bluth and Spielberg, but it's hard not to get emotional to the whole thing. Also, the score kinda has a little bit of a Lawrence of Arabia vibe to it. Take a listen. But with An American Tail, it really does bring that Universal quality to it, to whom which James worked with a lot with the studio from this film onwards in the 90s. Hell, he composed the iconic Universal logo for the rebranding in 1990. Though the score is great on its own, the movie does have a few songs presented since it was aimed at kids. The first being the song There Are No Cats in America, a very hopeful and enthusiastic tune that brightens the movie before it gets darker.
There are no cats in America, and the streets are paved with cheese.
The second song, Never Say Never, no, not the Bond track, is a good break from the emotional side, much like the first. I guess the idea was to pause the film's drama with some lighter tunes to keep the kids engaged and continue the story, despite many therapeutic bills later, though with the song having a French tone, it feels like a precursor to Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast. Don't believe me? Listen to the beats back to back, you'll see.
Never say never again. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest.
while Christopher Plummer seems to be channeling Lumiere for some reason. The duo is the third of these lighter pauses, sung by Philip Glasser and Dom DeLuise. It's a nice piece that showcases Fievel and Tiger's friendship, and out of all three, is my favorite of these tracks.
We're a duo, a pair of lone ones who were meant to be a duo.
Mostly for my love for Dom DeLuise being a damn good comedic singer in everything he's in. Even in films that are kinda bad, his singing comes off as some of the better parts of the movies. He later did the song Absolutely Green for A Troll in Central Park that I might get some backlash from Razorblade and others. I kinda liked that movie as a kid.
That's how the world can be if we just want it. Why isn't it that way, do you suppose?
Even in films like The Magic Voyage, another guilty pleasure of mine, Dom's singing is really catchy. Having met his co-star of that film, Corey Feldman, at Fan Expo to discuss that movie, he stated despite being a check job, was overall fun to work with the late comedian on the songs and voice acting.
Yesterday my life was dreary. Now suddenly I'm bright and cheery. And all because I met a fella like you.
So yeah, call me a Dom DeLuise fan on this song too. But those aren't the songs people remember from this film, are they? Arguably, the song that is most remembered from this movie is the emotionally gut-hitting Somewhere Out There, performed by Philip Glasser and Betsy Catskett, respectively. And yeah, it's pretty damn hard not to cry at this moment.
My childhood!
The song really does highlight the pure spirit of the film, and it's no wonder why it got nominated for Best Original Song at the 1987 Academy Awards. Unfortunately, it didn't win, being beaten out by Take My Breath Away from Top Gun? The fuck?
Take my breath away.
Okay, tough call, but I do like that song a little more. But this sweet piece is a nice track. Hell, even I parodied it once in my co-review of King Kong Lives with the Media Hunter.
Somewhere out there, beneath the miniature soundstage.
The song also got a chill 80s cover performed by James Ingram and the awesomely talented Linda Ronstadt. The soundtrack is available widely online, however, physical copies are a little harder to come by, being released on CD, cassette, and vinyl records at the time of the movie's release. In 2019, an expanded score was released and is a tad cheaper to obtain, so I'd grab the expanded edition if you want a hard physical copy. In 1991, the film got a theatrical sequel, Fievel Goes West, with the majority of producers and actors returning. Except for Don Bluth and his animation division. This one being mostly done by Steven Spielberg's short-lived animation company, AMBLIN. And later on in the 90s, Fievel got two more lower quality sequels from the makers of the Land Before Time sequels. I'll probably talk about the second film down the line in the future, but the other two I've never seen and don't have any desire to do so for how awful they look. Now with me kind of being a noob to the first film, watching it all the way through, is there a reason, per se? Well, not only is it due to never having access to viewing this as a kid on VHS back in the day, but honestly because, quite frankly, a lack of interest in it. Yeah, I know that sounds really disheartening to Don Bluth's work, but it's more my attention for it. The film is charming and sweet and all for kids, but it never really caught my eye as a kid. Especially with the advent of the internet and seeing a lot of people suffer childhood flashbacks of depression from it. It just wasn't a film I had any real lack in seeing because of those faults. Plus, it came off as kind of a depressive bore for a while. The only time I really tried watching it was on TV airing during Thanksgiving in the late 2000s, and even then it was hard to sit through. And because I had much more affection for the more entertaining sequel, is why I avoided the darker original for so long. And alas, I also have to mention how fucking goddamn stupid it is that the family and Fievel always walk right past each other. Everybody has brought this up, and I am no exception. This is one of the most painful, torturous annoyances in the entire picture. I'm not saying it's bad per se, but it just becomes too frickin' much. Oh my god, the One Ring was easier to find than this!
The ring?
Shut it, Pete, go find Sora or something. It becomes such a downer that even Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert say it's too intense for children.
And I think, however, that this film is way too depressing for young audiences. It's also a very confused movie. What is your average kid going to think when the movie begins with soldiers burning down houses and not one word of explanations?
This film doesn't play fair with its story.
But, to be fair, the ending is actually really heartwarming and very emotional. I'm not gonna lie, I actually cried a little bit by the end of it.
My Five, I thought I would never see you again.
Never say never, Papa.
I'm a grown-ass adult! This movie shouldn't affect me! However, as an adult, does it change my perspective on the first film as a cinematic masterpiece? Honestly, yeah. Overall, An American Tail is a movie I can now view as a more emotional epic and one of Don Bluth's best movies. It's got everything for the whole family to enjoy with gorgeous hand-drawn animation, a chill soundtrack and songs, Spielberg's magic touch, and that whimsical universal flavor that I never get tired of. It was all the right ingredients put together, and it's a dish I can enjoy much more as an adult. Sure, it's pretty dark for a film for children, but I think kids need that to be better evolved as people in the future. Nowadays, children's entertainment is pretty watered down, bright and colorful, but this film, unlike other 80s animated horrors like Watership Down or The Black Cauldron, is much easier for kids to take in, and I would recommend it for the whole family, and can act as a double feature with The Land Before Time. Which, to be honest guys, I do want to cover at some point. It's a shame that Fievel is not as a recognizable kids icon as he was when the movies came out, but the film is worth a look back if you haven't seen it in a while, coming in at a decent 8.6 out of 10. The heart and spirit of all involved is definitely there on screen, and would be one of many Don Bluth's masterpieces that is a must-own in your film and Universal collection, and overall, with the passage of time and separation, is worthy enough to find for yourself. And once again, a big thank you to our Patreon sponsor, Blazing Rider 3000, for his request on us reviewing An American Tail. And while you're at it, guys, check out his YouTube channel and subscribe to support him. And who knows, we might get more Patreon-sponsored reviews in the future. But for now, let me know your thoughts on An American Tail in the comment section below. And until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms, signing off for now.
Captain, intelligence indicate that patient 92's coordinates are heading south. They're trying to cover his tracks. Rendezvous near the rivers. Set up a perimeter. I'll be there shortly.
Yes, Captain.
Cobra Commander, we've searched the entire perimeter, and there is no trace of patient 92's whereabouts. He must have gone past the borders into the boundaries of the forest.
Proceed with caution, Captain. He is not to be underestimated.
If he's out there, sir, you'll find him.
Don't fail me as Stone did for the Master. So long as the Department of Meta-Human Control is under his chain, the Captain is to proceed as commanded.
As you wish, Commander. Alright, let's move out!
Dr. Gabor, patient 92 is close at hand. He cannot hide for long.
Excellent. Him out of the way, the invasion can proceed faster.
Doctor?
I have already ordered our allies of the Great Worlds to start up their battalions. Our Gablocks will meet with all ground forces in the fantasy era, while our workers here fire up the portals. Thanks to the black boxes left over from Patient 92's FDT, we can proceed that much closer. The world is already distracted by our infiltrators in the walls to the east, allowing the fleets to sail without notice. Once the invasion is in full swing, the Empire will be our final operative.
What of the weapon being built below the city of Toronto?
It is well kept under wraps, Commander. Your call here is finished, my friend. Proceed to capture Patient 92 quickly and await my orders.
As you wish, my lord.